Hi, this is Jim McCarthy, and today I'm discussing Neverland, The Life and Death of Michael Jackson, written by myself and illustrated by Brian Williamson, published by Omnibus Press. Deciding on what to focus on in an 80-page, as this was, colour, larger format graphic novel was quite difficult actually. Michael Jackson's story probably really needed 200 pages, to be honest. It was so... Even though he died at the age of 50, which is young, I believe, that even for these days, he crammed so much into that life that it was very difficult to give. In some ways, it was difficult to give equal space to certain kind of key elements of his life. But the intro to his life, I thought, was very important because of the Motown Records connection, and also the fact the book for me started with. And I thought Brian Williamson illustrated that quite beautifully. The move to from Detroit by Motown Records to Los Angeles in 1970-71. And I actually have one of the musicians. I show the kind of bit of backstory about Motown, how they were the biggest independent black-owned record label. It really made it huge. I mean, much bigger than Stax or some of the other kind of black music labels that were in existence at that time. It was very important to see. I made a point of having James Jamerson, the legendary Motown bassist who played on so many of the great records that came out, Marvin Gaye, Martha Reeves, the Supremes, and many more, the Temptations, Smokey Robinson, bemoaning their move to Detroit because really Motown became a different company when they moved to LA. And it was also at that time that they did discover the Jackson 5, of whom Michael Jackson was, I believe, the 9-year-old or 10-year-old singer. So in answer to that, it was very difficult to try and shoehorn all of the incredible events that happened in Jackson's life into this size of a book. But I hope I managed to emphasize a lot of the major stuff that really did happen. I think for me, the central notion of the book, the thread that kind of ties it together, is the incredible amount of conditional parenting that he had. He had a very domineering father, Joe Jackson, that he was beaten quite a lot as a child, and also the whole family were kind of trained to become sort of good musicians at quite an early age, to be able to sing well, to be able to dance properly. This page, for example, to me, by Brian Williamson, his art, it really shows the kind of the inner world of Jackson in a series of thought bubbles, with the outer world of his father, Joe Jackson, kind of saying things to him that are quite derogatory, and his reaction internally to those, and him covering himself up with scarves around his faces because he thought his nose was too big. And again, we made him look kind of quite fisheye lens in this panel here, where his nose looks, and obviously where he's actually had his first nose job. There's an incredible shot in the book. Again, another really wonderful piece of artwork by Brian Williamson, where symbolically on a double-page spread we kind of see him tearing at his own face, and lots of his different faces throughout the years of makeups for Thriller, and you know, the kind of zombie faces he had in that, and also the plastic surgeries that he had where his face is changing. That really, to me, that picture could sum up 10 pages of detail about going through every detail of every surgery he had, every clinic he attended. It's all said to me in that double-page spread, with that excellent artwork by Brian Williamson. The whole area of his death also is a strange thing, where he's contracted to, I believe, 50 or more shows in London at the O2, which seemed to me to be somebody in his physical state would have been almost impossible to have achieved. And in some ways, it almost seemed, in a strange way, him dying when he did, it's almost like, I know this is going to sound bizarre, he couldn't have orchestrated it better in a way, because could he have done those shows? I don't think he could have. And obviously there was a lot of money riding on those shows taking off, unbelievable amounts of money. So it seemed to me that he almost died in a kind of, not pre-arranged way, but almost, it kind of seemed to me the ultimate escape for him, really. It really did his way out. I'm not saying he engineered it, we'll never know. But I think there was such a lot of chaos and confusion around him towards the end, and mounting money problems. He'd obviously spent a lot of money on all these court cases. It was obviously, he was under the most unbelievable pressure, and I hope that the graphic novel in the colour large format colour format we used kind of shows that visually and in the script writing.